Hi guys, welcome back. So I came home in a little bit of a mood for a listening session the other day, and so I plunked myself down on the couch and I had to listen to the ADS 420s that I brought home a couple of weeks back. I made a short about it, but then I had to leave the city for a short period of time, and so this was my first listening session. Sorry about the sirens. Um, where was I? Yeah, so I had a little bit of a listening session with the 420s. And I took a little bit of time to position them correctly, after listening to several songs that I was familiar with and all that, and got them set up fairly well. So I started taking some jot notes to sort of describe their sound. And while I was doing so, I thought it might be a good idea to make a comparison video where I compare those ADS speakers that I got to my Rega Ela speakers that I've had for a while now. I thought that a comparison video would be more useful than making a video that just describes the 420s on their own. I always feel that comparison videos are a lot more useful in the real world. So maybe you feel differently. I don't know. Anyway, I listened to a variety of music, although I have to admit I didn't listen to rock music, which I normally listen to and I will get to, but anyhow, I wanted to start making this video. I did have a 3-hour or 4-hour session just the other night, and I listened to the same music and I kept swapping back and forth between the two speakers. And I took a bunch of notes to describe their sound characteristics by comparison to one another. So I thought I'd make a video on that, and hopefully somebody out there will find it useful in some way, shape, or form. You never know. So here we go. All right, so the ADS 420 is a sealed box stand mount design with a 1-inch soft dome tweeter and a 7-inch stiff light paper cone woofer. But it looks more like a 6-inch to me, actually, to be honest. But anyhow, its rated frequency range is 48 Hz to 20 kHz, plus or minus 3 decibels, and with an impedance of 6 ohms, with a 4 ohm minimum. Its rated sensitivity is 92 decibels at a watt per meter, and it stands 17.5 inches tall by 11.25 inches wide and 7 inches deep. The Rega Ela, on the other hand, is a quarter-wave transmission line floor-standing design with a 5-inch paper driver made by Royd and a 3/4-inch ScanSpeak D2008 tweeter. It stands 33 inches tall with spikes, is 8 inches wide, 11.5 inches deep at the base, and 7.25 inches deep at the top due to the slope of the front baffle. Now, both speakers are fairly bright. I would say that the ADS can sound brighter than the Regas, but that the Regas have a certain sharpish peak somewhere. So the ADS has a general brightness, whereas the Rega is more pointed. The ADS are what I would call light and lively, clean and clear, with a very wide open soundstage. They're punchy and snappy, sounding great with percussion instruments. They're also breathy sounding, but not in the same delicate sense you'd get with very high-end speakers, though. They have less defined and less specific placement of instruments and other sounds compared to the Regas. Sounds can sometimes be at extreme left or right at times, rather than how it's presented more within the middle of the soundscape with the Regas. The ADS can be a touch bright maybe, but I don't find them to ever get brash, even at moderately loud volumes. It does have its limits though, since it's a small speaker after all. It can become somewhat hard sounding at extreme volumes. The ADS have a very even frequency response through the midband, which I find common with every ADS speaker I've ever owned. I find them to have a more even frequency response than the Regas. They produce more of a wall of sound by comparison to the Regas though, with the Regas having much more three-dimensional depth, and by a good margin. Towing in the ADS can improve their focus to a degree, but even at its optimal setup, it still would not provide the sort of three-dimensional delineation as you get with the Regas. At first listen, or if only listening casually, you might feel that the vocals are better than on the Regas. But the Regas are actually far superior in terms of giving the performer 3D body and focused placement. When switching from ADS to the Regas, the first thing you notice is the seemingly narrower soundstage. It's almost as though it collapses in a way by comparison, but what's really happening is that it's much more three-dimensional, throwing a much deeper soundstage. Once you close your eyes and start carefully listening, your brain really locks onto that 3D sound. The Regas can also throw sound outside of the speaker boundaries to the left and to the right, They've definitely earned their reputation as imaging champs. Now, in addition to being more three-dimensional, they're much more intimate and provide much more body to the vocalists. There's much more distinct delineation to vocalists and musicians through the Regas. Everything seems more defined in space, with much more depth than through the ADS, and much more sense of space around instrumentalists and singers. You're more in the room with the Regas. Furthermore, the sound is more fluid through the Regas by comparison to the ADS. There are better ebbs and flows to the music, giving you better dynamic swings. The Regas are definitely mid-range and vocal-centric for sure, whereas the ADS give you their full range without anything standing out. Both speakers could definitely benefit from a sub if used in a medium to large room. If used in a small room, the bass actually might suffice from each. Now, I can almost guarantee that non-audiophiles would prefer the ADS over the Regas, because they kind of wow upon first listen and sound good while walking around the room or casually listening with friends you happen to have over or what have you. But that audiophiles would prefer the Regas for their so-called audiophile qualities, those being the body to and space around vocalists and instrumentalists, and their more correct vocal and instrumental delineation. Now, I've come across a lot of people who are into audio who feel that describing sound quality is pointless. I beg to differ though. I mean, what other tools can we use to describe what we're hearing? Measuring devices don't wholly describe how something sounds, that's for sure. So I ran these sound analogies across a friend of mine, a friend who has absolutely zero interest in audio, and I asked her to tell me what she thought they meant. And she was able to describe pretty much to a T what it was I was trying to get across to her. And this is what I said. The ADS sound is like standing in a big, open, grassy field with a blue sky and the sun shining brightly, taking in the entire view of the beautiful forest that's standing in the background at the field's edge. The Rega's sound, on the other hand, is like that same clear, beautiful day, but now you're walking on a wide path into that forest you saw from afar. You're still getting all the sunlight and beauty shining down through the trees, but you're much more focused looking down that path, and everything around you is much more three-dimensionally tangible. So what do you think, guys? Does painting that verbal picture help understand what I'm hearing? Let me know if it does, or if it doesn't. All right, everyone, that's all I've got for you for now. Once again, thanks for watching, and we'll see you here next time.